Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. We are seeing some green today for crypto and we have some more crypto news to go over. We'll be taking a look at the price charts, and with XRP there's even some speculation, sounds pretty positive, about the XRP ETFs, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. So first up, we have the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. It's sitting at 30. We've started to come up just a little bit. We're still in that fear territory. Give it a little bit more and people will start to feel more optimistic, but we're also seeing the reflection price movement that people are already starting to feel that way. We are now actually on a third daily green candle for Bitcoin. 2 days closed down in the green, right now sitting at about $77,500 with a high of around 77,800 and a low on the day of about 76,800. So still doing quite well. We are looking at a level of resistance around 78,100. This is on the Fibonacci retracement. A little bit above that, we do have the median line of a Bollinger Band at about $79,000. Of course, $80,000 psychological level. And the Bollinger Band, let's go ahead and elaborate a little bit more on that. We are seeing a divergence taking place, a widening of the Bollinger Band, just a tiny little bit. But you see these moments here, for example, where it starts to widen a tad bit, and then all of a sudden, boom, you've got some real explosive movement. We're looking at Bitcoin here on the daily. I would keep an eye on a level of support around $74,200. That day was pretty volatile. As far as a volume standpoint goes, the volume on May 23rd was very close to May 21st and May 20th as well, but we saw a bit less yesterday, even though it still made a climb. And then for the new day today, it's already off to a pretty good start, and price movement itself holding up pretty well. Might start to see a little bit of back and forth action as we are seeing this with that top wick formation. And of course, if there's any major news events that take place, for example, with the United States and Iran, that could have a huge impact as well. So just kind of keep an eye on things throughout the course of the day and how that might potentially ripple across this. And let's go ahead and move forward. So with Crypto Rover, they point out that Ethereum and Bitcoin, that pairing, has now closed 13 consecutive 3-day candles in red for the first time in history. So essentially suggesting that there's more of a push between those two major cryptocurrencies. And just look at this 3-day cycle, and having 13 of those back to back is pretty wild. We can see on the 6th and the 8th candle that they were on the verge of turning green. They actually had a pretty deep bottom wick on them, so it was still quite brutal, but overall almost a neutral territory. Just 13 days is, I say just, it's a lot. It's a lot of days. Ripple is on Fortune's top 15 Web3 companies list for 2026. You also have Circle, Coinbase, Fireblocks, Ondo, Paxos, Anchorage Digital, the most institutional lineup in crypto history, on one list. And XRP is sitting right there with all of them. Check it out. Ripple right there. Good job. And from Smoke, XRP is the first enterprise-ready digital asset. And in the documentation that they provide, let's go ahead and read through these highlights. Banks seem to like Ripple, and payment providers are coming on board more and more. It is built for enterprise, and while it can be used person to person, that really isn't its primary focus. The main purpose of the Ripple platform is to move lots of money around the world as rapidly as possible. Thus far, Ripple has been stable since its release, with over 35 million transactions processed without issue, which is absolutely wild. And then it's highlighted here, leading blockchain enterprise unicorns by region. So we have Ripple over there in what looks to be North America, on the verge of Canada, but I'm pretty sure it's United States. And then we have Binance as well over on the other side. So let's go ahead and move on. We've got Japan's first XRP ETF approvals are expected before 2028. And this is huge. When XRPs were first being mentioned, especially the spot ETFs, people were very, very, very optimistic. And when they actually launched for XRP, lo and behold, the price actually started dropping quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a tad bit here for XRP. Let's go ahead and go back in time. I should still have my marker here. Yeah, so for the United States, they finally launched. It was around November 13th. I think that might be exactly on November 13th. Let's go and zoom in. Yeah, on November 13th, it launched at about $2.46. And since then, we have seen the XRP price just continuously, essentially, just dropping down. It did try to reclaim this back on January 6th. No luck. Kept dropping, and now we're at where we're at, which I'll go ahead and look at the actual price movement and give my thoughts on that in just a little bit. But going back over here, we have with the, oops, I didn't mean to click on that. For XRP, the Japan's first XRP ETF might be a fresh opportunity. If we look at how things performed for the United States XRP, it's not great. But if it does launch over with Japan, that is something that could be quite bullish, especially given the fact that this is about 2 years from now. So we got to be a little bit patient, but seeing this launch over with Japan would definitely be bullish. XRP's 30-day liquidity index on Binance just crashed to near zero. Last time liquidity dried up this hard, price exploded shortly after. Low liquidity equals less selling pressure, which equals one big order moves the market. So even if the volume looks pretty low, if that volume is essentially from one big order, boom, all of a sudden things start making major moves, other people start jumping in, and you've got the whales essentially controlling the market pacing. And Just Token and Enerdex are leading the tokenized energy revolution on the XRP ledger. And there's also a crypto exchange called BTCC. If you guys have not heard about this exchange, it's been around for 13 years. You get access to over 300 crypto futures, up to 250x leverage, and there's no VPN or KYC required to get started. You can get a deposit bonus of 10%. That's if you deposit over $500 of USDT, and that can go all the way up to $10,055. So if you guys want to check this out, if you want to get started, I do have my referral link down in the description below. Continuing on, this one's a little bit lengthy, but just stay with me here. No, why Japan's first XRP ETF approval will quietly trigger a wave of institutional capital into XRP. Japan is the fourth largest economy in the world, with $4.4 trillion in GDP. It is also one of the most tightly regulated and conservative financial markets on Earth. When Japan approves an asset, the entire Asian institutional system pays attention. XRP is already the third most adopted crypto in Japan, behind only Bitcoin and Ethereum. Why this changes the game? Japan's tokenized real-world asset market is projected to grow from $2.8 billion to $7 billion by year end, creating direct demand for regulated XRP-based investment vehicles. SBI Holdings, Japan's largest financial conglomerate, has been distributing XRP since 2019 and already launched a 10 billion yen bond rewarding investors with XRP. SBI Ripple Asia operates a licensed token issuance platform on the XRP ledger under Japan's Payment Services Act, giving the ETF infrastructure to build on. Japan's Financial Services Agency, or FSA, is reclassifying crypto under the Financial Instruments and Exchange Act, paving the way for spot ETFs by 2028. Tax reforms are reducing crypto capital gain tax from 55% to 20%, unlocking massive retail and institutional investment flows. Japan has over 20 licensed exchanges where XRP is already traded, creating immediate liquidity for any ETF launch. Japanese pension funds manage over $3 trillion in assets, and ETF wrappers are the only way most of that capital can legally touch crypto. What an XRP ETF in Japan unlocks: you get direct access for Japanese institutional money to XRP without holding the underlying asset. Pension funds, insurance companies, mutual funds, and family offices gaining regulated exposure. Rakuten Wallet, Mitsubishi UFJ, and SBI Securities likely listing XRP ETF products to their combined over 100 million user base. Bridge effect into the rest of Asia, including South Korea, Singapore, and Hong Kong, all watching Japan's regulatory model. Cross-listing potential between Tokyo Stock Exchange and NASDAQ XRP ETFs through Evernorth or XRPN. Japan was the first country to legally recognize Bitcoin as a payment method in 2017. It set the global precedent. When Japan approves the SPY XRP ETF, it sends a regulatory green light across all of Asia and back to US and European institutions still on the fence. Japan does not approve speculation. Japan approves infrastructure. And this was very, very well worded and put together. This is from Ripple Zaidi over on Twitter. Guys, be sure to go check them out and show them love. And up next, the S&P 500 futures hit an all-time high of 7,560. China's yuan hit a 3-year high against the US dollar. And let's go and take a look at the price movement for XRP. We'll keep this pretty brief, but we do have 4 days of red candles, 2 green, and then right here, look at this, a little bit broken up. It's slightly different than what we had for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin itself, let's actually go here. Bitcoin had 2 days of closure recently in green. Ours for XRP right over here is red and then green before that. So we do have green on the day formation, sitting just under $1.36. It is looking like it's trying to climb back in where that bottom level of support was being formed, and almost looks like it's creating that as a median line. So we might see this still hovering around $1.36 for tomorrow if this trend pattern does continue, and it's essentially trying to just confuse everyone whether or not it's going to decide it wants to come back in or not. And if you give it enough time, it doesn't need much movement to go up to $1.40. So do keep an eye on $1.40 as a level of resistance here. And that's what I got for you guys in today's video. Let me know what you think about this. Share your thoughts with us down in the comments below. And thank you so much to my Patreon supporters, my YouTube members. God bless, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.